everyone. Who's ready for our next session? Let's go ahead and make our way back to our seats, please. Let's quiet down because we have some amazing speakers joining us up next. Let's give a big round of applause for Jimmy Kim, founder and CEO at Sendlane, and Ron Shonak, founder and CEO at Obvi. They're going to be talking about the evolution of the 20-year-old email playbook. Let's go.
Thank you.
All right. It looks like people are enjoying some pizza over there.
Wait, shut down the pizza.
Shut down the pizza?
Shut down the pizza.
Shut down the pizza. What's up, guys? Excited to be here today. We've got a great presentation here. I think one of the things I was just telling Ron right behind before we walked in here was it was about 15 months ago we did the Whalies last year. You were there too, speaking too. And
yep.
I talked a lot about deliverability then, and a lot of the things that I talked about 15 months ago came true over the last 15 months, which have been pretty interesting to see. So we hope to give you the next playbook to think about over the next 12 to 15 months here today. So today we're going to be talking about going beyond the click. And we're going to talk about modernizing a 20-year-old playbook and the 3 lessons learned. So we've got examples, we've got some interactive pieces. So we want the audience here to interact on the live stream if you're listening. Well, I don't know, put it up in front of your screen, I guess. I don't know. So anyways, let's start with the start. Who am I? I'll start with this for those who don't know who I am. My name is Jimmy Kim. I'm the founder and CIO at Sendlane. I started this journey, or my online journey, as a digital marketer. Back in 2008, I fell in love with the internet. I fell in love with the opportunity, and I really fell in love with email marketing. When I learned that you can congregate a group of people and you can send an email out with some words, and if they clicked on that thing and they made a purchase, you could make money. That was just one of the most exciting things. And over the last 14, 15 years now, I've been just learning and specializing in email. In fact, I also had a brand. I had a men's streetwear clothing brand that the story goes basically, a friend of mine had this boutique store where they sold other people's clothing in Las Vegas, and he was setting up a brand new cut and sew line. And he asked me for some money. He asked me for 50 grand. And I had the money, so I gave it to him. And I walked in a couple months later, and I asked, how's this going online? And he looked at me and he says, we don't do any online. And that was my indicator that I needed to become a partner. And for the next couple of years, we grew and scaled that thing to over $10 million. It was a really fun journey, and that's where I learned a lot of it. In fact, that's where the story of Sendlane really started. Today, I'm this CIO of an email, SMS, reviews, and forms product called Sendlane. And then secondly, I've got this gentleman over here who doesn't know who Ron is. Well, okay, good. Everyone in here knows, but I bet you the live stream probably wants to know. So, Ron, let's talk about you.
Amazing. First of all, it's an honor to be up here, and shout out to Triple Whale for putting this together. I mean, it's incredible. Heard there's like 700,000 people online streaming too, which is insane. But hey guys, I'm Ron Shonak. I am the co-founder and CEO of Obvi. Obvi is a women's health and wellness brand focused around collagen. And maybe why should you care? So a little bit about my journey. Bootstrapped the brand with a $10,000 investment to about $30 million in 3 years. Did something different. Instead of going to VCs for money, we raised $2 million using Twitter and LinkedIn. So there are actually some investors here in the crowd, which is awesome. And now we've surpassed a little over 60 million in revenue, and we've launched nationwide in Walmart. And we've done this with an 11-person team. And I want to highlight that because I know a lot of us are struggling with a lot of things we're doing, and making sure that we're doing things efficiently, which is a lot of what we'll go over today in the world of retention, but also doing things effectively. That's been a huge highlight for us. And something cool, we were actually the brand of the year in 2022 by Stack3D for Obvi. And a couple other highlights. So we actually were on this journey of we just love building different brands. So we actually also started a pet brand called Paw Rangers. So that's a baby brand. It's actually just coming out of the gate. And then we also acquired a brand called Coffee Over Cardio, which is a 7-figure, about to be 8-figure coffee brand. So I'm able to talk from a few different vantage points, which is some of you may be just starting your business, some of you may be in the 8-figure mark and beyond. So we've been able to get that experience from a few different vantage points, so I'm here to share about. And then run a podcast called Chew on This on free time.
He talks about the podcast like it's a little deal. It's a podcast, it's a community, it's the dinners. There's so much that's going on with what he's doing in the community, sharing this word and bringing people together. So very exciting here. Today's agenda. This is what we're going to work through here today first. So first things first, we're going to talk about the most important signal that we're ignoring here today that we need to be focusing on. And from there, we're going to jump right into
lesson number 1, which is let the customers tell you. Let them tell you what they want.
and how to sell to them, right?
Exactly.
In fact, lesson number 2 is how you control your audience. I think that one of the things that we're starting to recognize and see more and more is that the evolution requires people to start thinking about their audiences more, and we're going to break that down and give live examples of what you should be doing, what you should be thinking about.
And then we'll jump into lesson number 3, which is how to adapt to these different channels and which channels do your customers prefer, and learning that.
And last but not least, because everybody loves a free gift, we've got some gifts to give away, some
cool
things
stuff
that we're going to be doing at the end. So very excited here. So let's go ahead and jump right into the evolution of leveraging the most important intent signals. So I'm going to start by setting up the stage here today, because I'm not here to talk about the basic things that you may be doing today. So the basic things we all agree on that we have to do these things today. First things first, you've got the pop-up. You're collecting the emails and SMS. You're doing that today, right? You've got your newsletters that you're sending out. You're sending these email blasts out into the world. You've got your typical automation flows. You've got your welcome flows, your abandoned carts, your post-purchase, replenishment, browse abandonment. There's a million things that you could be adding into these flows, but really, these are your typical flows that you're doing today in your business. In fact, after all that, you send a lot more newsletters here today. You've got a big sale, a holiday, plenty of event marketing, and ultimately you've got the same thing with SMS that's happening right now. Unfortunately, something that I talk about a lot in the market is that we still kind of do it the old way. We learned a lot about in email, but we're not applying that often in SMS, something that we'll talk a lot about as we go through this presentation. And then you do data segmentation. One of the coolest things that I've seen over the 14 years of evolution is that we didn't have the data that's available today 14 years ago to email, but we also didn't have the spam filters and a lot of the other things that came into place today. So, data segmentation is definitely something that I know more and more people are doing, but it's important to think about why and what the goals are behind it. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but we're all doing these kind of things here today. And then we repeat these things. We have special events, holidays, we're sending more. We got lead gen campaigns. We hook up third-party tools that, we don't really use too much, but we hook them up. I think that's something we do. And then we optimize the flows and sometimes over-optimize flows as well. So we've all understood that. But then I jump over and I look at paid media. And what's really interesting about paid media, Ron, is that, dude, you guys in paid media, because I know you work there, every day is evolution. Last week to this week is a different story, right?
Absolutely. Even in the car right here, I was talking to Ash, our CMO, told me a totally different story from last week.
Yeah, and you're like, well, what happened? But what's interesting is that in paid media, the evolution is occurring every single day. And we think about that, and you actually think about that in email and SMS, and we're actually, not using the most powerful intent signal of them all. And look, you guys already know what it is based on the topic, but what I'm going to be talking about right now is contextual data. Contextual data is that relevant, the facts that are being provided by the other side of the person, giving it to you and letting you know what they want. So that happens through things like an open or click. You've got behaviors like a website URL visit, a purchase, a cart abandonment. These are just examples of contextual data. These are important parts of the milestone that come into retention when you think about it. But the loudest thing, and the thing that I know that everyone doesn't want to optimize for often, is the click. And the reality of the click is very important. The number one thing I tell people is they're often telling you what they want. And they're also telling you what they're interested in and how to sell to them, but often we're not listening. And that's why we talk about this. And I've got a little math here, so just talk about it real quick, because I think math is always a easy way to kind of get people aligned around it. But let's just pretend you got 100,000. We're going to use Ron. Ron, you got 100,000 people on your email and SMS list, and you get about a 2 to 4% click-through rate, right? And you get 5% of those people to convert because it's highly targeted traffic, right? So you can make 100 and 200 sales, right? But the big question that I ask often is, what about those 1,900 to 3,800 people who did not purchase? What are we doing with those people? Are we just sitting here and letting them go on? And oftentimes, what do? We send another campaign, right? So, when we think about that, we think money is being left on the table. And that's what today's presentation is all about and all the things that you need to be thinking about. So, what do you do with all this? Well, let's dig into the first idea. I'm going to give you the high-end theory of it, and then we're going to jump into actual examples and lessons learned with stats and results behind that. So we send a campaign. I have a campaign here that I might typically send an email out to, and I tag each one of those identifiers, right? I sell men's, women's, kids, what do I have, dogs, whatever it is, and the user clicks on a link. And when you think about that, that should trigger something. When they click on a link and you've got it, you should be able to follow them out with a real-time engagement, with the real-time data that you have in front of them, and follow them up with a very targeted message. What happened here? Contextually, they clicked on men's. If they clicked on men's, should you follow up with them with a women's SMS?
Probably not.
But that happens all the time today. And that's where you got to start thinking about what that click ultimately leads. So you think about this a little bit different, a different thought here. I've got an SMS, and it's the same thing. SMS being an expensive channel, one that costs more money than email. And I got an SMS that goes out, and it's going out to an audience, and we've got 20% men's shoes. Who's going to click on that? People who are interested in women's? Probably not, right?
Probably
we got
not.
men's, right? So we think about that. The user clicks on that, and then again, 3 hours later, you follow them up with a targeted message explaining, hey, I clicked on this. I'm obviously more interested in it. Let's send them more on the relevance of the click. That's what got them to click there. Not the browse, not the abandon, but really, those are next levels of intent, but what got them there was your message and the information. So we should lean into that and start using that contextual data to maximize that revenue. All right, so you've got targeted, and then I got typical. And what I mean by that is very simple. You got a targeted message that is relevant to the content and the context of the click, or you've got the typical, which is to just move on and send the next message out because it was part of your next campaign in your calendar year. So let's start with lesson number one.
Yeah, and even before I jump into this, it's super important, especially the things we're about to go into. The tool that enables this. Jimmy talks about it pretty easily, but it's actually because you need tools that actually enable you to be able to do some of these things. And so what we'll do into lesson number one is your audience will tell you exactly how they want to be sold to. And we're going to go right into a deep example that taught us a lot at Obvi. So getting a deeper understanding of your audience, how are you going to do that instead of just saying that you want to do that, right? So what we'll do here is you'll see an email example here where we'll ask people exactly what they're looking for, right? So here's a few options, right? They may be looking for something in weight loss. They may be looking for something in hair, skin, nails. They may be looking to increase energy. They may be looking for something in beauty or abuse immunity. Whatever your list of items are, depending on your brand, right? What you want to first understand is what is it that you want. But if you don't give them a pathway to that, that's extremely important to make sure that you have something like that there. So now I'm gonna get to the interactive piece. I want to know from a show of hands, and let's go 1 through 5, just put up a finger. What do you think is the reason our customers purchased our product, or what were they looking for, more importantly?
One through 5.
1 through 5. Put up
Anyone?
a finger.
So 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 5, 1, 1, 2.
Okay.
A little nice mix.
Yeah. And it shows the vast amount of, optionality of what it could be, which is what we're going to get into now. So what's really cool here is we use the Sendlane platform, and we tagged each link as its own separate tag and its own separate segment. Okay, so now whatever happens here from whatever gets clicked on, we're gonna be able to see how many people did it, how many people clicked on it, and how many people were gonna follow up with certain type of messaging. So let's get into the results because this kind of blew our mind, okay? Take a second to just look at, first of all, just in the room alone, we had a varying list of what the option could have been or the result could have been. Weight loss for us, we had 14,000 people who were coming to us for weight loss purposes, okay? However, the front of the brand always was this health and wellness company targeted towards hair, skin, and nails. And half of the ads Ash was running was about hair, skin, nails, and collagen. And we're like, wait, but pretty much everybody wants weight loss, right? And we wouldn't have understood this if we didn't tag and understand where the click is going to and what the intention is.
That's pretty cool. 14,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's truly them telling you. But well, weight loss has a lot of different topics. So I think that's what you started doing next.
So this is where I think there is a difference in, a lot of us sometimes are like, you know what, I don't need to know this detail, but the truth is, you're about to see why you need to know this detail, okay? And drilling down on the data, right? So what we did from there was like, all right, they want weight loss, but weight loss being so broad, as Jimmy mentioned, what in weight loss do you want? Do you want to burn fat? Do you want to tone your body? Do you want to just get a better diet plan? What is it, right? So let's do the interactive piece again. Do you guys think it was 1, 2, 3, or 4? See a show of fingers again.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, a little bit of everyone.
Okay, cool.
Let's look at the data again. So you added these 4 tags.
So added these 4 tags right at the same place that we did for the previous segment to understand what people were clicking on. And here are the results. So we actually learned that burn fat was the overarching reason people were even thinking about wanting weight loss and what they wanted within that. Now, here's the really cool part to this, right? First of all, when you break out the reason somebody purchases, think about what that does for your brand, right? I now have an immense amount of angles to give to our marketing team, right? We also have an immense amount of ways to look at our brand from a different view, but also just understand what we're going to talk to our customers about. Instead of this same segment, when we were using a different platform, we were just sending them organic blasts about just anything and everything, and they had no relevancy to it, right? So from this is what I told you kind of how we portrayed our company before, this holistic health and wellness brand. We're this collagen brand. And again, we love collagen. It's still a big ethos of ours. But what we turned into is started to create extremely targeted messages, right? Like this email right here has worked wonders because we're starting to understand what people want, why they want it, what they're expecting out of us, and then exactly hitting them up with that type of messaging. And that downward shift into really taking each segment and personalizing it. We all hear about it today, personalization and whatnot. And that's really what segmenting provides you, right? And so it's been incredible results.
So let's take a look at the results, Ron. Let's talk about what actually happened after that. So the results of change.
Exactly. So what you'll see in the beginning was, we had a little bit lower AOV, and then even just our revenue coming from flows and campaigns was dismal in a way. To where we jumped to was absolutely, it was eye-opening because we were sending smaller email campaigns to more targeted segments, and we saw quite a massive increase in both revenue from campaigns and flows. But also, some of the key stats are we saw about a 57% increase in AOV from customers that came through our campaigns and flows.
I should say 164 to 298.
Yeah, 298.
Little typo there.
Yeah. And then we saw about a 137% increase in our campaign sales. So again, sent fewer emails to smaller segments that were just more targeted in the messaging. And then through our flows, we saw about a 247% increase by changing our messaging and understanding why they're clicking on stuff. And I think what also kind of helped us is we were able to use tools and add tools that further gave us even more intentionality. So with Amped, if you guys do pop-ups, Amped was an incredible tool which was able to give us more personalization even in our pop-ups. We're able to go to Elevar and understand the data from the ad side. When Ash is running ads and spending thousands of dollars a day, what exactly are you seeing now that we're changing the angles and understanding each breakdown point better? Nostra to obviously increase our site speed, which has been incredible, especially when you have different landing pages that have different targeted messaging. We actually went and sped up the ones that have more of the messaging that we need for our customers rather than focusing on just the holistic website. And then our PDQ, we just really focused on creating an Amazon-like experience for our checkout so that people felt more comfortable making the decision about the product that they intended to buy. So we listened to our customers' feedback and leveraged technology that would help us to fully understand what they want. And this truly shifted the way that we look at our brand today. And actually, I think we were kind of shying away from understanding our brand, which was, we're this health and wellness brand. And yes, that's the category we're in. But what are we really? We're a brand that sells primarily weight loss products. to make people feel better and look better.
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting. Even at $60 million, I mean, these are the things that they're starting to continue to look at. And I know sometimes people go, well, that's what I should learn early on. But I think what you're learning is as you evolutionize, grow your brand and find your community, I mean, that's really ultimately, I mean, Ron has this huge community on Obvi on Facebook today. And, you know, if you look in there, I was looking in there, but they really are. They're sharing their weight loss journey. That's the thing that Obvi helps enable into the market, which is really cool. All right, so lesson number 2, we're going to talk about retention marketing, not email and SMS marketing. And why I talk about this is I think the shift is starting to occur and people are starting to realize that, sure, email marketing is really important, but retention marketing, bringing in all the details of the business, the goals, the foundations, understanding where you're really level setting an entire department circling around and exactly bringing the customers and bringing them back to make the purchase. So let's talk about that. Earlier today, we talked about the basic marketing things, but we forgot the most important part of marketing, which is the audience. Anyone who's seen me on social, I talk about this quite often. It's the most boring part of it. No one wants to dive into it, but the reality is your money, your unlock actually sits right in this audience. If you're just doing a 90-day engaged all batch and blast into your email right now, that's probably you following a very old methodology that you were taught 10 years ago, and you just haven't adapted. Sure, we got a little bit better with engagement, but the reality is that we haven't been maximizing what you should be doing in the audience. So I'm gonna give you guys a basic understanding of what we're gonna be focusing on here, but there's 3 segments that you should be using as a base. And it's really simple: prospect, customer, and customer repeat. And why do we say that? Because each one of those has a different goal. Ron's going to tell us about those goals in a little bit here, but really thinking about those 3 segments comes into it. And Obvi, these are some of the segments that Obvi is running today. And if you look down to it, they're breaking down by time, by intent of behavior of purchase, and the stage that they're in. And it's going to allow them to know a 60-day opt-in who hasn't purchased is probably not as good as a 30-day opt-in that just recently opted in, which is not as good as a 30-day buyer who probably is ready to make that next purchase. And you start seeing that data by really breaking down those segments and being able to see that. And from that lesson, we layer on these behavioral things, right? So you guys were clicks, page visits, different things. And we all know this in this room. It's just applying those into your business and your strategy. And then you get more focused on building these segments. A customer who has not been on your list for 120 days is not the same as a buyer who's been opted 120 days. Like, there's something that you have to understand. Like, there's a difference between people that you've got to understand. You got to be more aware about your prospecting windows. You've got a sales cycle. You know already it takes 28 days for someone to make that purchase. Well, at day 45, you're starting to get away from that average. And more, the further you go, the less likely they are to purchase ultimately. And that's where most people trip up on their deliverability. Again, when I talked about last year, this is one of the things I talked about. Deliverability is really an interesting little world. It's a black box for most people. But one of the ways that most brands trip up is they spend way too much time on their prospect list and not enough time on their customer list. In fact, go ahead, Ron.
And so I think the other piece to even touch on, just one more point on Jimmy's points, is we were so used to and almost trained to just take these chunky segments of like engage 30, engage 60, engage 90, and just blast. And we never actually understood when you add so many other elements, which we'll get into in a couple slides. It's amazing to see how smaller that pool gets, but how much more targeted you get to actually convert them with what you do with your messaging. So each of your segments should have its own goals. So what I mean by that, so prospects, the point of this segment is to get the first sale. There should be no other real goal when it comes to prospecting, right? Then you jump into customers. You're constantly trying to nurture for the second sale and onwards. And then when you look at customers 2+, right? Now here's the point of where, all right, this person clearly likes your product, maybe doesn't love it yet, but this is where advocacy and nurturing for that repeat sale, maybe going to subscription, whatever it may be after that, that's the entire goal for these 3 different segments. I see a lot of people looking at these different segments and they'll start to do things that don't make sense, right? Like maybe sending a blog to the first sale, which is fine, okay, but if that's all you're doing for 4-6 weeks in a row, how are you really gonna get this person to the sale? So thinking through and really creating clear goals. And then the way you talk to each segment should be different. So this part's really, really important and core to us. So every segment you have, so let's say we have 4 segments, right? Here's how different each one is. So it's important for us that the campaign, the flows, the subject lines we're using, the content in the CTA, and the goal for each segment has to be different. And if it's too close or if it's too similar, then we probably need to find if there's overlap or why isn't there a clear-cut reason for a different need for content and CTA, subject line, whether it should be a campaign or a flow. So really go back today, if you guys are brand owners or operators, go back and force yourself to see, do you understand your segments and do you have these differentiation points where they belong?
In fact, when I talk about this is something I say on social a lot, but I always say get aggressive with your customers. Get aggressive with your prospects and go easy on your customers or nurture them, love them, right? Because there's such a different goal. And often we fall too often in the trap of bringing them together and then also trying to love them. But the reality is a prospect, the only thing you got, as Ron said, the only thing you should be focused on is getting them their first sale. Then you can slow down and then you can start nurturing them and start getting them into the right place. And it's such a simple thing. Go easy on your prospects, love your customers. And that's the way you should be thinking about.
Yeah. So now lesson number 3. Sending the right people to the right channel. This has been something that's been our mantra this year, especially. So excited to jump into this. So remember Obvi's stats where we increased AOV by 57%, 130% increase in campaign sales, and almost 200%, over 200% increase in automation sales. Let's jump into that. So not only did we adjust our messaging, but one of the things that really gave us the leverage to increase a lot of the revenue and the growth you guys see is we unified our stack on email and SMS. So we had both platforms separately before, and we actually brought SMS under Sendlane as well. So now email and SMS sit in the same platform. And this is one of the, I think this things, you talk about this all the time and it still spooks me out.
It's mind blowing.
So kind of check this stat out, right? So before we were sending 8 million emails, okay? And what we realized is when we started to segment people down and understand where are they converting, what type of channel are they enjoying more, and really digging down into these segments and data and see what they're telling us, we understood that, hey, actually SMS is converting them better because it was all unified. You could see it in one place. Instead of when you kind of have it in two places, you're looking at data in one place and you can't really marry the same data again. So what we realized is we can actually send less emails, so we cut it down by almost half, let's say, but then we literally 10x our sends on SMS, and the revenue increase, and what you guys already saw, the stats you saw, came from unifying this ability. And I truly believe until you do it, you won't really understand the impact it can create, because you have one place to understand both parts of your data instead of trying to segmentize both delivery.
And I think this is a proof in the fact, one of the things that I say is that like, you've got to be in the channel that your customer wants to be.
Yes.
As many people are in this room, I still check all my emails, but there's plenty of you guys in this room without even knowing that probably don't check your emails very well. And it's true, but you'll check every SMS where I get stuck in my SMS because I got a billion of them. I opted into a bunch of customer email, SMS. I'm always lost in my SMS, and it's actually a hard channel for me to follow up on. So, for me, I would have preferred an email channel where, someone else in the audience would have preferred SMS. So This is proof. When you're in a journey and you've got a certain audience and people are social, obviously, because you've got a community, you can see that effect happening right there.
I think one other last closing point on that is, again, when you go back and you're thinking about, what are some tactics you can apply and stuff, really ask yourself, if you looked at 10 of your customers, do you actually know what channel they prefer? And if your answer is, I don't know, then force yourself to figure out how to know, because most importantly, you're most likely sending them both channels when they probably only buy through one. And so 1, you're overspending. 2, you're not giving them exactly the experience they want to. You might be over communicating, and 1 is a wasted channel. So really trying to force the action here. Okay, cool. So after we made these changes, we leveraged the data to realize the channel, obviously, that customers prefer. We sent more targeted emails and less 90-day engage or active blast. We were doing that. That's the only thing we were doing. 60-day, 90-day, 30-day engaged. Did far less of that, like we talked about. We adjusted our SMS sending from mass blast to targeted follow-ups based on contextual data that Jimmy went over. So if someone clicks on this on the email, now the SMS is going to do the following up, and they'll work together, right? And again, that unified approach really helps. And then we focused in on our weight loss messaging. We've learned this year that this is who we are, and this is what we're going to double down on. And we've had our best quarter till date.
Very cool. And when you think about this bigger and broadly, and you think about unifying your stack, what it really means, and that's what I talk about. The data delays, having real-time data is really important and being able to do it. Clear attribution, I think it's really cool to be able to see actually what's coming. And I know most of you guys use everyone probably in triple well here, but even on the product itself and being able to see that on that side, it continues to kind of nail down what the channel preference looks like. You're over messaging, kind of what Ron said. You're not sending a campaign at 9 a.m. and following it with the same campaign on SMS at 12 p.m. You're following them up with a targeted message, something there, or you find people preference and you're starting the campaign there and you're following them up with email. You've got better customer experience. Over messaging is a problem, guys. Obviously, if you got two different platforms, no matter how well tight they are, they're always gonna have an over messaging problem that's gonna happen. And really, the ability to evolve your playbook, that's probably my biggest thing. As I talk about this entire playbook, everything on this playbook kind of hedges on the fact you're unified. If you're not unified, this playbook is extremely hard to run ultimately. So with that, we've got some little things, free gift coming up here, but start with Chew on This.
Yeah, I'll start with a shameless plug. If you guys enjoy consuming material through podcast or newsletter, Ash and I, we actually get on the podcast once every 2 weeks and we drop a new episode. We've had the honor of having the likes of Harley Finkelstein on our podcast. We've had Jimmy. We've had some incredible founders, and we share our stories. We actually share everything we can. We've shared our P&L, our balance sheet, how we're building Obvi. So if you like consuming information at the comfort of your home, our podcast is really cool. And then we have a newsletter that we send out twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays, that goes out to about 40,000 different founders. And we share our information there. So whether you're watching or reading, something cool to check out.
Yeah, definitely check out Chew on This. And last but not least, I do have a little free gift for everybody. If you're interested and you want to learn more about email and SMS and reviews, and you want to learn how to do this, I've got this course I sell for $500 we give to our customers. It's $500 if you go onto this website, you scan, is there a QR code here or no?
No.
Oh, wait, there it is. Boom, QR code. All right, so we got a QR code here. What it's gonna allow you to do is go in there, send it to your marketers, send it to your people, learn about email. We go really basic on learning the basics, and I tell you all the knowledge until we get to deep into segmentation, using things like the MVC framework, understanding how to leverage deliverability is something that I talk about inside of it. It's normally $500. It's free here for anyone listening, and I guess on the live stream today
on
too.
The live stream too.
So you'll be able to grab this, go to ecommerceacademy.com, use pick bundle number 4, use code Whalies NYC, and as a good marketer, it expires at midnight tonight, so get it now before it's gone. So that's something I think about. With that, guys, we want to thank you guys for being here. This is how you can get a hold of us.
Thank you, guys.
That's how you find us, and we will email you these slides. Everyone in this audience will email you the slide. If you're on live stream, hit us up, and we'll try to figure out a way to get this to you. Thank you guys all.
Thank you.